Good late evening. Just passing the 12 o'clock hour here in the great state of Michigan on the East Coast. I want to wish all the mothers a happy Mother's Day as we're 1 minute past Mother's Day. I hope you had a blessed and safe and love filled Mother's Day. I personally spent Mother's Day with my significant other, our three kids, or two kids, my two stepkids, and my son at the flower show. So, our seventh annual one, and it was really fun. So, we have to talk about this on the ISO-20022. I'm T-Speak at 222 with the ISO headquarters. I want to thank the more than 800 subscribers of the channel, which I'm blown away. It's been about 11 days since we've done an update, but this one came out May 1st. And I wanted to do an update. And we're going to be doing more updates more closely together now that we're getting closer to the ISO unveiling and the crossovers. So pay attention to this. Payments in 2022, what you need to know. Financial institutions have had a lot to grapple with from consumer payment habit changes to addressing the issues they had pre-pandemic, and not least the need to modernize the payment solution to support new payment methods and rails. Two themes in particular are being discussed at every bank: cloud and real-time payment. In a webinar with El Quadri, Gareth Lodge, senior analyst, global payments at Excellent, discussed how banks should approach this opportunity to be at the forefront of change. So 2020 changed where we do business and how to pay for things, which changed the revenues of banks automatically. The revenues for the Coalition Transaction Banking Index showed that cash management was hardest hit. This resulted in significant pressure to cut costs and find new sources of revenue. Excellent did a large global survey, the State of Nations for Payments Modernization, on 200 different countries. The chart below of the survey results shows how banks responded when asked how blah 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 impacted their investments and payments technology. By late May 2021, 22% of U.S. banks reported IT spending remain on hold, with another 23% seeing their budget. So spending was put on hold, has now relaxed, but priorities have changed. Spending was put on hold, has now relaxed, and priorities has changed. Spending was put on hold and remains on hold. Spending has increased because of the pandemic. Spending did not change during the pandemic. Spending was made available, but due to resources constraints was not fully utilized. Banks were finding that some of the digital processes weren't as digital as they assumed they were. The ability to allow customers to open and close bank accounts remotely. So they went into 2022 with a backlog of items that should have been done over the last 2 years and an increasing list of things to do because of the last 2 years. Wired modernization is well underway for every region except the U.S. 20% of U.S. banks reported that they had no plans to update their wire platform. Because of the swift MT to MX conversion, more than 9,000 banks globally had to migrate to the new platform. To be compliant with ISO 20022 standards, real-time payments go hand in hand with updating the wire plan. Lodge recommends that in 2022, financial institutions start with wires. There's been an awful lot of pressure from banks in the U.S. and other countries around the world to say the U.S. can't afford not to upgrade its wire system in line with the rest of the world. They will be the only major economy globally that hasn't. Updated in the last 5 years, currently updating. You can see the percentages. Need to update in the next 3 years. Need to change in the next 3 to 5 years. No current plans. Modernizing the payment platform prevents issues with truncation between banks at different stages of their migration, according to the Lodge. There's no point in the rest of the world sending a data-rich message and then reaching a U.S. bank and having to be truncated. We're losing a large part of the value of the migration. U.S. banks should also consider that even European banks who were already doing ISO 20022 for ACH payments for a decade are struggling with the migration. It's a difficult process with old technology, and there's also the added pressure of a firm timeline. The American Bankers Association told the Federal Reserve in January 2022 that it supports their plan to migrate to ISO 20022 standards for their real-time gross settlement system, RTSG, and that a single-day switch, and we keep hearing this, a single-day switch should happen no earlier than November 2023. This is what I keep talking about. While 55% of banks have said they are updating their wire systems now or over the next 5 years, the 20% who have no plans at all do not have a lot of time to respond to this. There's a great synergy between a wire replacement and a real-time payment. There's not the same, but it's better to get a system that can do both with an extra spend than going with two completely different systems. There's an opportunity to piggyback one opportunity on. Okay, so now urgency for modernization. Preparation is critical with so much that has to get done in such a short period of time. With the Fed migrating to the ISO-20022 standard for their RTSG, there's little time to get a new UI system live, which most likely means that financial institutions can't use on-premise solutions. Lodge shared that in other countries, Malaysia, India, China, Europe, Australia, have been companies that use the real-time rail to bypass the card networks. In Hong Kong, there was a noticeable drop in card volume at all the major banks when companies like Ally Pay and Tencent bypass the card networks with QR codes. Financial institutions can assume that if they don't offer real-time payments, behemoths like Amazon or PayPal will. Also consider those who do have the capability are going to be attracting more customers, making modernization a must. Current systems can't be simply updated for ISO 20022. Now is the time to choose a vendor who can support your transformation. Lodge also predicts that the cloud will increase in significance. Everything's going to be cloud going forward. In the last 18 months, probably even just 12 months, every single RFI we've worked on or seen has gone to a cloud service, every single one, and that's from the biggest banks globally. When RFPs come in, they will need to issue, making the need for payments modernization urgent. If a bank waits too long, they'll be too far back in the queue to meet deadlines. The TCH RTP network has 200 FLS right now, with the volume growing at a double-digit CAGR month on month. 2022 is a year of action for starting your projects, or in the very least, planning for your projects. A new perspective. Instead of looking at the systems independently, view them as part of a modern, holistic payment platform. Real-time payments that are ISO 20022 based can lead to interoperability with all of the use cases, revenue opportunities, and risk of churn. All of the data needs to come through one system. The key is to take a customer-centric approach when looking for a new, faster payment solution. Think about the user experience and its orchestration of the payment. From the clearing and settlement, a platform that has multi-rail access with a fast time to market is going to be key for a lot of banks who do not have budgets to build independent connections and bring them back together through a middleware technology layer. Which network is best? When asked if financial institutions should choose TCH, FedNow, or Zelly, Lodge explained that it's not as simple as being better than the other. I think increasingly we will see vendors who integrate all of them with the routing decision done by the vendor. So I think at the moment, it's about understanding what you need today, but the landscape is going to look quite different in 2 to 3 years' time. And it's likely we'll end up with all of them. So it's really the prioritization rather than saying I can only choose one going forward. So moving forward, what does a migration project actually take? Is a common question. Every financial institution is different, but with cloud-based deployments, it's significantly different than the on-prem or even data center deployment for the last 10 years. Thinking about these things as projects that will take months to years is not the case with a lot of modern technology. With the cloud-based providers, it's more weeks to a few months or a quarter at the most to get the project up and running. With the upcoming ISO 20022 migration of FedWire and the growing importance of RTP and volume growth, and the FedNow pilot now in full gear and getting ready to launch, it's really time to take action. It's a short project to connect for receive only. Alcrity has had clients that take as short as 10 weeks, so from a project planning perspective, it's not a heavy lift. By not starting now, you're losing out on deposits on the customer base that's looking to get their funds immediately into the courts. So basically, guys, what we need to take from this is 2023 is when everything's going to be flipped. If they're going to have a single flip of the switch, every single thing that I'm seeing is November 2023. And it's come out many, many times. It's not just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 times. I've heard this over and over again. More and more banks are flipping over, and as you can hear, the USA is lagging. This is not by design or by accident. This is by design. The Ripple XRP court case goes into this. The USA is using stall tactics because they're critically behind, like to a dangerous level of the cryptocurrencies and the blockchain technology because they didn't believe in it. They didn't innovate with it, and now they're left holding the bag, so to say. So now we have all these regulations, and right now crypto's a very dangerous place. But when we start flipping the switch, and 95 to 99% of crypto is wiped out, the ISO coins and the ISO coins alone will make you wealthier than you ever thought possible.